Creating a Blockbuster Brand is the book that shows businesses how to craft stories people actually care about using the same proven formulas that make audiences fall in love with films. Its author, Greg Logan, joins us on Shop Talk. This is the Focus Group.
They're all business, except when they're not. It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Welcome to the Focus Group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is our website. You'll learn all about us there, including our other podcast, which is TFG Unbuttoned, that drops on Tuesdays. 3 very curated stories from the news. You may not have seen them, but you'll appreciate tuning in and hearing about them. And also, we want to thank our partner here, Deep Discount. They've been with us for many years. We're going to be visiting with them a little bit later in the show, but if you want to visit them early, FocusGroupRadio.com and click on the Deep Discount logo. Mr. Bennett, before we have a packed show for everybody because we had a great conversation with author Greg Logan, who I mentioned at the beginning of the show. But before we dive in, you know, if you've been a listener here on the Focus Group for a while, you know that Tim and I have certain ice cream flavors that we, adore, and we've often looked for but never found. But surprise, surprise, Tim, I got a note from a listener that key lime ice cream, not sherbet, not, what was the one you found, like frozen yogurt was one of the flavors, right?
Yeah, they're usually in a frozen yogurt or a sorbet or something, but not ice cream.
Okay, so this is from our listener, Steven. He's down in Sarasota, Florida, and he says, Dear Tim and John, my partner was in the HEB near his home north of Houston, Texas. He sent me this photo knowing that I love a good key lime ice cream. He also knows because when I last emailed you about this, Tim has stated that he doesn't believe that key lime ice cream exists. Well, and he said, I had previously sent you a photo of key lime frozen yogurt from Publix here in Sarasota. To which Tim, on air, rejected frozen yogurt, stating that it wasn't ice cream.
True.
I'll accept that, but now we have proof that key lime ice cream exists. He says it's down there at HEB for $3.98 per pint.
That's cheap.
It's a steal. Here's the link to inventory. I'll have to send the inventory. Could you order ice cream?
I'm going to look for this. Well, you probably could. It's going to cost you something for the freezer pack, but so it looks like the Swoon brand.
Yes, Swoon.
If I'm looking at it from what you have posted here. So I'll look for it and see if it holds up. I don't want it to be key lime flavored sorbet or sherbet or something that they're calling ice cream. You know, John, I saw a story over the weekend that Dairy Queen now, they're upset with Dairy Queen. I pulled it maybe for a story we can do on TFG Unbuttoned. Yeah. No, at TFG Unbuttoned, there's some, apparently Dairy Queen does not sell ice cream. I guess there's going to be a lawsuit about that. So so stay tuned next week.
I thought they'd be up in arms because it was called Dairy Queen.
Dairy
who knows,
Queen,
right?
Well, I didn't even think about that. We've got dairy drag queens. Mm-hmm. Maybe they could be a dairy drag queen. So so thank you for a listener. That's a listener down south. Is that where he is located?
Stephen, down in Sarasota, Florida.
Sarasota, okay. I was at a party. Our friends Joe and Larry, I believe you've met here. They have an architectural digest sort of home, and they hosted a big party over the weekend. And Mark and Carl came and picked us up, and we went over together because parking was going to be tough because it was a big party, and ran into a longtime listener way back from our SiriusXM days, and I believe he's even a friend of yours on social media, Jonas Marusa, and his partner Jeff Jones. And so they were at the party, and I met Jeff first. I said, "Hi, I'm Tim Bennett." He just looked at me, and then Jonas heard and said, "Are you the Tim Bennett?" And then the partner's like, "Oh my God, you're the Tim Bennett from the show." And I told him how you and Bob were going to be coming down to visit, and he had said he'd been listening for such a long time, and he asked about the studio in New York and some things. And then I said to him, "Do you have Focus Group socks?" And he said, "No, he didn't." So I got to figure out a way to get them socks. They have a home down here.
Oh, and, well, if they're down and we're down, you can hand it to them, right?
Yeah. So I figured we would do that. But it's always funny when you meet somebody who knows the show, or you and I have experienced that in a few places where we've gone somewhere and then somebody either recognizes you and I bantering back and forth, or
a laugh.
Yeah, that's happened a few times. So hello to Jonas, Jeff, of course, Mark and Carl who listen, and Larry and Joe. It was a nice party. Brand G Vacations was there, and they were doing a raffle. And it's these very high-end luxury LGBTQ vacations, and I won a $1,000 gift certificate for a trip.
Did you
But of
really?
course, well, listen, I can't get Richard to go to the next town, let alone get him to go to Paris or something. So I, after the raffle was over, I went up to the person with the company and the the nonprofit, and I said, "Here, use this for either something else or a silent auction, or." I said, I don't want it to go to waste. I said it was donated, and you should have it to have somebody who could use it. Use the gift certificate. We would not be going to a riverboat cruise down the Seine.
Was it that specific?
Yeah, there were a number of trips like that where you would. Most of them were European, and
Okay.
they're very high-end luxury trips, and certainly the $1,000 would be welcome. But
It would defray a possible $10,000 trip, right?
yeah, the trips are probably. I looked them up, but depending on where you go and whether you do the excursions during the day, they could be $5,500 to $10,000 a person. But
Yeah.
that's what luxury travel is. But so I laughed, and I was shocked I won, and then I was mad because I thought, here I win this thing for this trip. I want to win the lottery. I don't want it to jinx my lottery winnings.
Well, you only get a win when the leprechaun comes with the
Right.
shamrock.
So I wanted to. Why can't I win the lottery? I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Not that the $1,000 gift certificate wasn't welcome, but I thought now that kind of knocks me out of the running for the lottery.
running. Does this travel company, do they do trips to Egypt? You
I
probably
don't
didn't
know.
notice that.
I don't
Yeah, that's
know.
what Bob and I want to do next year. We want to do Egypt, and we don't want to be skimpy about it because I think you have to stay at nice places for security, et cetera. But
Yeah,
Well, congrats,
my neighbors.
Tim.
When you're
That's-
down here, you can ask if my neighbors are here because they all just got back from a trip to Egypt.
really, okay.
Well, I shouldn't say just got back. It was about a year or so ago. They went right after the pandemic, and they all went luxury. So maybe they would have some advice.
Looks like they're going to be singing my tune because I don't know if luxury is the right way to put it, but with Egypt in particular, you want to be, and if you're gay, I think you do want to be careful about where you
Yes.
stay and what you do.
Well, everybody wants to be careful. You're going to ride the camel?
I would love to do a camel. My big thing is seeing something called the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum. It just opened after many years of construction. I think all the galleries are open now. It's like the largest collection of their stuff ever. They built the museum around some temple, like some obelisks and statues. It was so big. We're thinking we would spend a whole day there because they have a food court. It looks beautiful. Like you could spend a day there. Maybe spend a day in Cairo at the Old Egyptian Museum and then fly to Aswan and take a nice riverboat, like one of the ones you probably looked at
Right.
for like the Seine kind of thing, down to Luxor and Abu Simbel and Karnak and everything that I want to see. But we got it.
Yeah, we had one more quick one for you.
Yep.
We had a listener that sent us a note. Steve out of New York wanted to know if we'd been to the Museum of Brands,
No,
which is in London.
seriously, that's a good museum to visit.
I looked it up and I laughed. He said it looks like there's some old queen that had a collection that they made a museum out of. But
It's one room with a bunch of stuff on the wall.
oh my God, it was hilarious. It was shelves after shelves after shelves of just different types of detergent and different types of soap and different types of soup. Anyway, so the Museum of Brands, if you've been there, let us know what you think.
And send a pic.
Yes.
On that note, what caught your eye, Mr. Bennett?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
I don't know if you saw this one, simple one, John. It happened in the North Shore of Long Island in the village of Westbury. There was a woman that was having an MRI. And you know these MRI machines. It's a non-invasive 3D imaging technology that examines your organs and usually tissue and skeletal system for diagnosis. And you go through, you get in the tube and you lay still and it takes you through. Bang, 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 makes noise. And it's a big
Yeah,
magnet.
Click, 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 click. Yeah.
Right. It's a huge magnet. So this woman was in the facility last week. And for whatever reason, she asked for her husband to come get her or help her. Nobody can quite, the witnesses are two different stories here. But her husband had a 20-pound metal chain around his neck. Now, these magnets are known to throw a wheelchair across the room, or if you have any sort of metal anything on you, it'll
High powered.
suck you in.
Yep.
Right. So he was told, they said repeatedly, this is witnesses said he was told not to go in there while his wife was having and she was screaming in pain, they said, for something. Why is she screaming in pain? She's laying on a table. There's nothing touching you. So he decided, they said he defied orders and went in and then immediately was sucked at the machine. And they said because it was around his neck, they didn't give a cause of death, but he ended up dying. They said he had multiple heart attacks. But what they think happened, based upon how they know these things evolve, is that the chain actually choked him to death, asphyxiated him. She said he was up against the machine, he waved goodbye, and then that was it. He was out. So,
oh my God! So that was part of the witness statement. Like he was literally pinned against the machine by the magnet.
Yeah, he was pinned against
chain.
the machine, and they said there was speculation. The police didn't say exactly how it happened, but anyone who's familiar with these machines, they say there's about 300 accidents a year where people are told, do not go in the room with the magnet, do not go in if you have metal objects on or whatever. And he went in with this. First of all, can you imagine wearing a 20-pound chain around your neck? So he went in with this chain, and so the magnet just takes it, and it just constantly pulls. So if you had something around your neck, obviously it's going to choke you to death. And they think he died of asphyxiation. And it choked him to death. And by the time they got him to the hospital, he was pronounced dead. And she said he had multiple heart attacks as well. But a freak accident. But again, the witnesses and the people at the MRI center said he was told repeatedly not to go in.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of signs: do not enter, do not go in. But he went in with this chain around his neck, and
what a way to
paid
go.
the price. Yeah.
What a horrible, horrible way to go. And what makes it worse, Tim, is everything you just said. The facility says don't do it. Don't go in. There's signs everywhere. You're wearing metal. It's a magnet. I mean, I think, the valor of trying to rescue your wife from some painful incident at the MRI machine, I guess that's noteworthy. But my God, could you imagine being pinned against that machine knowing you're not going to...
Well, and there were so many warning signs on the door: do not enter, do not go in, MRI in progress, do not. So if you're going to defy the order, and they did actually even say when he checked in, the one woman that checked in, his wife, said, "Wow, that's an awful big chain around your neck."
Yeah.
And he said he was using it for weightlifting or something. Anyway, don't go to the MRI center with metal on, and don't go in the room while the MRI is taking place if you don't belong in the room.
Or Tim, as Patsy and Adina would say, hats, gloves, and shoes. Read the signs.
Read the signs. Yeah.
Pay attention to the signs. They're not there for jokes. Mine couldn't be any different. Mine could not be any different. It's a retiree posted a note the other day, and he's basically saying, "My phone addiction is poisoning my retirement. I'm setting rules to help me reclaim my golden years." I just thought this was funny that you would hear of a retiree whose life is being, ruined by the phone. So he says his name is Oren Ankin. He retired in 2020. He thought his golden years would look quiet and relaxing. And he says, "I retired from the practice of law in 2020. During my working years, my screen time was quite limited. My staff screened calls to the office, and I checked emails twice a day on my computer. My mobile mostly stayed in my pocket, reserved for communicating with my office on court days or for calling my wife." Now, that sounds like a really healthy work day, right? Your screen time twice a day, answering some notes. Instead, he realized his phone addiction was recreating the stress he experienced at work. "Recently, I decided to watch The Brutalist." This is Oren saying this. "A movie that's won multiple Academy Awards. It has an intermission. It's almost 3 hours long and has widely been praised. I got snacks from the kitchen, snuggled into my recliner, and prepared to be mesmerized by great art. Not even 10 minutes had passed before I reached for my smartphone. No one was calling me. I wasn't expecting texts or emails. He's retired. Yet, as the movie played, for reasons unknown even to me, I was staring at my tiny screen on the phone." So Ankin, who's a former lawyer, is now setting rules, and those rules are very simple. If he has an urge to look at his phone, he's now forcing himself to wait 10 minutes. He's like, okay, if the phone thing, I'll wait 10 minutes. If the 10 minutes goes by and he forgets to even bother checking, he just moves on with his life. But if the urge comes again, he waits another 10 minutes and he sees what happens. So far, it's working really well. And then he said at the end of the article that he has used this technique to break his addiction to cigarette smoking and to casual drinking.
So he waits. So if he wants to have a cigarette or he wants to drink, he'll wait 10 minutes. And if he still doesn't, then he's fine. Well, good for him.
So it was a simple one. No one died in this one, Tim. There was no medal, no signs being avoided. He just recognized. I think we all recognize. Like I've observed people on the train or waiting in line if they're fidgeting. Remember before we had these devices, we actually used to have to just stand or do nothing. It's kind of crazy, right?
Wow. Wow.
So, as many of you know, Deep Discount is a partner of ours here on the Focus Group, and we would love it if you could visit their site by going to ours, focusgroupradio.com, and click on Sharky, the Deep Discount logo. They have a sale going on, and it's basically TV for under 50. It's like whole seasons, like 6-7 seasons in a row. Like here on the landing page, I'm looking at South Parks all over the place. Tim, how many seasons does South Park have? Is it like 12, 14, 16?
I want to say it's in the 20s. Yeah. But maybe I'm getting it confused with The Simpsons. Both of them have quite the run.
South Park's quite the run. So what did you pick for your under 50?
So I viewed this. There were lots of great things there, but I viewed if I had to get something or I would recommend something, I used my my thought that there's certain collections I think everybody should have, even if you've seen them a million times. I Love Lucy's one of them. I'm a fan of the Munsters. I'm a fan of Andy Griffith or whatever, Seinfeld, Frasier, Pee Wee Herman. So this popped up, Schitt's Creek, which was a huge Schitt's Creek, which is actually a Canadian
brilliant
comedy.
This is perfect. 22 minutes per episode, right?
Yep, and it's this is a 15-disc set. You can get it for a little over $30 US.
$30.
And for those of you who don't know this, so you get the complete collection, and essentially what happened, it's a family that they've lost all their money. He was a thriving business manager and a video store mogul, and he loses all their money, and the only thing they have left is this little town that they bought as a joke in the 90s called Schitt's Creek in Ontario, Canada. And so it becomes their new home, and they have to adjust to this new, simpler way of life. And it's 80 episodes. People absolutely love it. Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, Dan Levy.
And his son. I think Eugene and Dan Levy are the creators, right?
Yeah. So it's, and I know people have binge watched it. It was huge to binge watch, particularly during the pandemic as well. But people love Schitt's Creek. Did you watch the whole series?
We love Schitt's Creek, and I'm spotty. I've seen whole big chunks of it, but I've not seen the thing all the way through. And I'm looking at the price here, Tim, $31.66. You can spend like 2 months of a streamer, and cancel that, and just buy this, and you have hours of you just pop the disc in, no anything, right?
And a lot of it has that same humor that you and I love from, like Waiting for Guffman or. The Best in Show, that sort of thing. It has the same sort of vibe and tone. Which,
sly, fun. And it's so well cast and so well acted. We love Schitt's Creek. It's an excellent recommendation. I went really highbrow for some reason, if you want to call it highbrow. When I was in college, I studied, one of my second major was English history, specifically focusing on the House of Tudor and the whole period of the Henry VII, Henry VIII, the whole bit. And Wolf Hall is a series that is on PBS. It's the complete series they have here for $25.99. It's 5 discs over, I think it's 2 or 3 seasons. It's based on a series of books, so it's historical fiction, but it does kind of capture the whole Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn. You don't want to be a wife of Henry VIII and not give a male son because you're going to be... it's going to come off. I've seen pieces of it. And that's what compelled me to choose this, because I would rather see, like what you were doing with Schitt's Creek. I'd rather pop something in and watch it piece to piece to piece, or show to show to show. Great cast, great reviews. So mine was Wolf Hall, the complete series from Masterpiece Theater. And we do have a new release this week. And this is an interesting one for me, because do you remember the movie Carnal Knowledge when it first came out?
I don't.
This is verboten. We weren't allowed. I think we were actually very young when this was first out, and by high school, people would talk about maybe seeing Carnal Knowledge, and sometimes schools, like colleges, would screen this film, right? Well, this is a Criterion Collection film directed by Mike Nichols, who's a great director, and it's about 2 friends in school, Jonathan, who's played by Jack Nicholson, and Sandy, who's played by Art Garfunkel. While self-absorbed Jonathan, which is Jack Nicholson, finds a perfect partner in Bobby and Margaret, Sandy, who is Art Garfunkel, seeks something more than he has with his wife Susan, Candice Bergen, believing it was a mistake to marry his college girlfriend. Rita Moreno's in it. Carol Kane, who I adore. So this is really a great movie, and it's available at deep discount. It's from the Criterion Collection. Tim and I always like to say that's the gold standard for $37.99. So there you go.
Well, it's quite a collection this week. We when you look at all three things there, it's as John mentioned earlier, it's a TV Collections Under 50 sale going on right now. So TV Under 50 sale. So binge away and own your passion at deep discount. I picked Schitt's Creek, the complete series. John picked Wolf Hall, also the complete series as well of that collection. And the new release this week is from our friends at Criterion, the Carnal Knowledge, part of the Criterion Collection. So be sure to head over to focusgroupradio.com and click on the deep discount logo. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have a business birthday, and then John and I are going to talk to storytelling expert Greg Logan. So stay with us.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Now back to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Available pretty much everywhere.
Welcome back to The Focus Group. John Nash with Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is our site. You'll learn about us there, including our partner Deep Discount, who we just visited with. And, of course, you'll learn about TFG Unbuttoned, our other podcast, a little shorter, 3 stories, especially curated for you. But without further ado, we have our signature business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but The Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
So born today, John, in 1863, July 23rd, is Samuel Henry Kress.
Now, I love this birthday.
A businessman, a philanthropist, and founder of S.H. Kress and Company 5 and 10 cent stores.
The 5 and Dime.
The 5 and Dime, but don't confuse them with Kresge, which was another one.
Thanks for clearing this up right away, because I had thought that maybe there was a merger or something that led to Kresge's, but no.
Nope, 2 very different things. And Kresge also had 2 letters in the front or whatever, but this is S.H. Kress and Company. And they were known primarily for the elaborate architecture, even though they were a 5 and dime selling cheap items, marble and bronze and brass, and the buildings, most of them still in existence today. The stores were known famously for their architecture. One of them in New Orleans is currently the Ritz-Carlton. There's one on Canal Street in New York City, which is turned into an office building, I believe. And there's a number of other very famous buildings that were Kress department stores that are now having a new life since Kress has gone out of business. Kress also amassed, so while he started this 5 and Dime, what happened was he grew up in Cherryville, Pennsylvania, near Allentown. And he worked for a little bit in stone quarries and then decided to invest, or he put some money and opened a stationery and notions shop in Pennsylvania. And the business prospered, and he decided to open additional stores, and he named the chain S.H. Kress and Company and became popularly known as Kress Five and Dime stores. And they said, unlike many businesses of the day, what made him different is he only opened stores in smaller cities that he felt had growth potential. So everybody else was building in large urban areas. He was doing the urban, I always say it was the Urban Outfitters model of going to, because they just concentrated on college towns when they started their retailing. So he just went to smaller cities, and it proved to be a very wise thing for him to do. The stores became the jewel of many of those cities, which might have only had a dry goods store or a general store until he came in. They said by the mid-20s, he was not married, never did marry. He was living in a penthouse on Fifth Avenue, right across from the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which he visited quite frequently and regularly. In fact, He, with his fortune, he amassed one of the most significant collections of Italian Renaissance and European artwork assembled in the 20th century. And he gave most of his collection. He donated 776 works to 18 regional art museums around the country. Again, not the usual suspects. He would give it to smaller cities in the hopes that they could
Great idea.
use that use those arts to
Attract more.
attract money and to put museums in these smaller towns that wouldn't have access to, for instance, like you would have in New York City, all the different avenues for art. They said he was an avid art lover, and his collection of paintings and sculpture, as I said, was primarily Italian Renaissance. He also gave the Italian government in 1929 large sums of money to restore a lot of their treasures, architectural treasures. He gave most of his collections away while he lived because he said he wanted to enjoy and seeing these other museums prosper. And in 1941, Kress and Paul Mullen gave large gifts of art to the people of the United States, which established the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. Franklin Delano Roosevelt accepted the gift. Today, many of the masterpieces that were donated are considered priceless. And there was a foundation set up. However, not without controversy.
I was waiting. All this nice stuff.
Yeah, he died. So he died September 22nd, 1955. He's buried in Bronx at the Woodlawn Cemetery. But the company was very much part of the civil rights protests in a bad way. So the company excluded African Americans from its lunch counters. Oh, all these department stores had lunch counters.
Yep.
So they became a target of the civil rights protests during the 60s with lunch counter sit-ins. Sit-ins also happened at Woolworth and other national chains. They said in one of his Nashville stores, they repeatedly refused to serve even the protesters, but eventually agreed to integrate the store downtown because they were being faced with a boycott. Also in North Carolina, they had protests there at his store in Greensboro. Same with Baton Rouge. So that part of history, of course, has certainly tainted the brand. The brand was sold, though, to, he was not part of the brand at that point, but the brand was sold to a company called Genesco, and which acquired the brand in 1964, and then they abandoned the store plan, and all stores ended up closing by 1980. I don't ever remember. I think there might have been a Kress store. They say the issue now with these buildings is that he did such a great job branding these buildings that people have actually used the name to say Kress Grocery Store in Hollywood or something because Kress is all over the building. The buildings are great, but because of the way they were built, the branding is everywhere. So people have actually used the name for other purposes. So that's
I don't
Samuel
remember
Henry
any
Kress.
Kress being around us, Tim, growing up. I remember Kresge in Waterbury. but that
Kresge
was
I
a
remember
separate-
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't
That was in
remember
the Colonial
Kress either.
Plaza where the arcade and the movie theater were. I don't know. And the green S&H Green Stamp store was there too. I'm surprised our parents would drop us off there and let us wander around the Colonial Plaza. You've been there lately?
No phones. Just go.
IHOP was down there too, right?
Yeah.
The International House of Band. Tim, that's a great. I swear, when you sent this over, I thought, oh, this must be the origin story for Kresge.
That's what I thought. And I actually had to go look, and they said not to be confused with Kresge, which is Kresge. This is just Kress. But where he was different. Kresge, they said, would go to larger urban areas. He went to small towns.
I like this guy's philosophy.
So he would go to Harrisburg instead of Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, for instance.
Or Allentown.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Not a great birthday, and what an interesting backstory of philanthropy, money, civil rights, and all the good that he did actually in giving that art to smaller museums, the National Foundation for the Arts, etc. And then you learn that, some civil rights. He wasn't on the right side of that argument. Let's put it that way, right?
yeah, or the company wasn't. They didn't really
good
say
point.
about him, but he ran the company. So yeah.
All right, as we mentioned at the top of the show, we have joining us Greg Logan. He's a global leader in brand storytelling and author of a new book called Creating a Blockbuster Brand. Greg is an award-winning storyteller who has spent over 30 years helping the world's biggest brands actually sound human. He's written for Netflix, Google, Virgin, and Adobe, and he's one of the few creatives to win top honors in advertising. That would be the Cannes Lion, or the Lion, television, and film. He's the author of a new book we're going to be talking to him about today called Creating a Blockbuster Brand, Hollywood's Storytelling Secrets for Your Business. Greg, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much. Lovely to be here.
First question for you, and this is one that Tim and I are in the business, so we're curious about this, specifically about this, and that's this. Who do you connect with at the big companies and brands that you've worked with who see the value of story and what your work will do to them and do for them? And is there a specific role that usually is more open to the idea of improving a brand story?
You know, my experience is the ones who get it the most and appreciate it the most and want to do it the most are the founders or CEOs.
It's high up.
Yeah. And it's hard to get to them. But once you get to them, they're like, let's do this. And I think your traditional CMO is often nervous in so many ways about so many things. But the ones I connect with most through my process are the founders. And I think they're the ones who go, we need to tell a different story. I'm probably too close to it. Everyone tells me what they think I want to hear. And no one's really telling me the truth. And I would say the favorite thing in my job is when I present back all the stories I create for my clients. I would say 80% of the time, the founder or CEO cries in that session.
That's a metric.
Yeah.
That's a positive metric.
And they always get terribly embarrassed and say, I'm so sorry. And I go, no, I love this.
That's the point. Yeah, that's the point.
And the reason they cry is, especially the founders, and a few of them have said this to me, but you can see it, is they're crying because they've always known their business was special. They always knew it was that good, but they've never been able to explain it in that way. And so that you can see them going, oh, the whole world's going to know now. Mm-hmm. So it's a really beautiful thing. So I connect most with, and I see that the heads of businesses actually want to do it the most. And once they do, of course, the CMO wants to do it as well.
Yeah. So, Greg, this is Tim. Thanks for joining us here in the focus group. So when you talk about speaking with the founders or the people that are further up within the organization, and in your book, is there a formula or a specific formula that you use that would work for everyone, or do you have to adapt it based upon the organization, or if it's a small business or large organization? You're shaking your head.
Yeah, no, you don't have to change it.
No.
So just so the audience knows, I've taken the formulas movies use to hook in audiences and translated that for brands. And the movies have wonderful formulas. The greatest one is the hero's journey. Every film is written to those 12 steps. But I've broken it down, and with my clients, I do their genre, their enemy and superpower, their quest, their logline, their love story, their backstory. So I use formulas that put the audience at the heart of everything. And I'll give you an example. The Kress formula, it's my favorite. Movies work because at the start of the film, a hero has a quest that we agree with. The reason we watch movies all the way to the end, even through terrible films that we go, why did I waste 3 hours of my life on that terrible film? Is because we're not happy until we see that quest achieved. So if you can create a quest for your audience, for your customers, your boss, whoever the presentation you're about to do, if you can create a quest that your audience wants to see achieved, it's really powerful. And it's a really simple formula that the movies use. What do you do? Who do you do it for? And what value do you add to their lives? So, for instance, Star Wars, is
Ding, ding, ding,
what
ding.
yeah.
Yeah, big fan.
What do you do? Save who for the galaxy and what value to add to lives by destroying the dark side. But for businesses, I create ones relieving who for business owners from the pressures they're under, relieving business owners from the pressures they're under. That was for a lender for small to medium businesses. For a home loan company, removing borrowers from the mortgage handcuffs. My Crest is turning businesses into loved brands. If you look at all those things, it's a very simple thing. What do you do? Something, the audience, and what value do you add to their lives? Don't explain how you're going to do that. You just want to create a statement that they go, oh, I want to see that achieved. So it works for any audience, any company, and you say it in the most simple language that people go, I grasp that, and I want that to happen.
Greg, that is brilliantly said. I love the analogy. Tim and I were introduced to the hero's journey many years ago. We had worked on a cartoon, and we had a lecture from someone in Hollywood about did we follow the hero's journey. So basically, though, this principle that you've created and brought to life, if you are a small business owner and your quest is to connect your unique brand, perhaps it's a store that sells only bespoke dog accessories or something. It still even works at that scale?
Absolutely. Let's do one now for a bespoke dog biscuit brand. So your audience, is your audience owners or dogs? Let's just say, I always find with it, when you've got two audiences, you go to the end audience because your main first audience who's going to pay for it wants to attract the next audience. So let's say dogs. So your audience is dogs. So when you do the Quest formula, even though what you do is first, always start with your audience. You should start with the audience on everything. And then what value are these boutique dog treats going to what are they going to do for the dogs? What's the benefit these dog treats add to their lives? And throw some things out. What could be some possible things?
Oh, it could be health. It could be treats for training. It could be like everything. It's just to make the dog happier, the owner happier. Yeah, they're natural.
Yeah. I would think, what do you do bringing who for dogs and the value add to their lives, bringing dogs and their owners closer together?
And thus the store that does this, or the business owner
Exactly.
that pursues this storyline, they are the curator and they are the provider of the journey, right? We're going to get you to this
So if
point.
you think about a dog owner, what do they want? I want to get closer to my dog.
Bingo.
This store. So you can see, I'm not even talking about dog treats.
Nope.
But what's the benefit that you add to the lives of your audience, and go to the biggest possible area. So you threw out things that were very rational, and I just was thinking, what's the benefit of that? What's the benefit of that? What's the benefit of that?
And guess what? You literally just encapsulated the problem that we talked about at the beginning with who do you speak to get this? Because see, I went for like very tangible ROI, researchable things. Did you like that treat? Was it good? But by going for the heart, you're basically setting up a dynamic where the connection is far more permanent, I suppose, correct?
And it's what the movies do so well, and it's why the reason I created narrativity in my business and created this idea of storytelling through the movie formulas is I heard again and again and again why brands need to become better storytellers, because stories trigger our heart and our heads, where facts and rational stories only trigger our head. So if you can capture both the head and the heart, it's going to be far more powerful. And everyone said why brands need to become better storytellers, but no one said how. So I thought that's what I'm going to do. And I knew movies were the best at it in the world. I mean, the movies are the most financially successful storytellers of all time. LA was a desert before Hollywood came in, and movies have built LA, and every movie is written to a formula that's geared to hook us in emotionally, not rationally, emotionally. And if you can do that in business and stop telling your rational messages, because we make decisions with our heart. We just use our brain to justify the decision our heart made. So it's really powerful if you can move away from the rational and focus on the emotional.
If I can be selfish, I'll go right to to one of the struggles we have while we're speaking with you. Well, you know, right now, particularly in the U.S., with all of this John and I specialize, our agency specializes in reaching the LGBTQ consumer. And I don't have to tell you what the environment's been like in the last, 6 months, 8 months. All this anti-DEI rhetoric, anti-LGBTQ rhetoric coming out of Washington, people confusing DEI with marketing to the consumer. But how would you? That's a narrative we can't control. And so when we're out trying to convince people or talk to people about working with us or the importance of speaking to the LGBTQ consumer, how would we write a narrative in an environment that's very negative that we just can't control? And so what does happen in those cases?
So you take it to the biggest possible benefit that they can't disagree with. I'm going to give you an example of many years ago. I think it was even 2012, but I'm a Sydney boy, and one of the great gay and lesbian events in the world is the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras. Yeah. And it was hugely, hugely successful for many, many, many years. And then it started declining because everyone had been, and all the brands that like Absolute that got on when it was cool, they started falling away, but the bigger companies weren't coming in either. It was stuck. And the parade was always record numbers every year, and it was starting to decline. Sponsorship was declining, and the party, which was always a sellout, was not selling out anymore. And they came to me and said, Greg, we need to tell a new story. Let's look at the Quest formula. What I did for them was, what did they do? Helping who for? The world. Not gay and lesbian, not Sydney, not Australia, the world. And the value? Helping the world love one another. That became the quest for Mardi Gras, and I created this statement, which was about infinite love, and they changed their logo to an infinity symbol that actually had love hearts at either end. So it was just never-ending love. And if you Google Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras, you'll see that logo. It's quite iconic now in Australia. And since that moment, all the sponsors filed in. The government, for the first time, who had never backed Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras, put money into it. Crowds flocked in, and the party has sold out every single year on year and year because people bought into a world that loves one another, helping the world love one another. Everyone could buy into that. So, I mean, I'm happy if you want to now, we could create a quest now for what you want to do. I'm happy to do it. But does that make sense? You create a story that everyone can agree with.
It broadens the it broadens the conversation and the scope, and when it's put into story terms, stories are and you know this, I'm not telling you anything you know, but stories are the most effective currency the human race has ever invented, and perhaps music's right up there too. But those two things, if they leave the planet, that might be our achievement as a civilization.
Yeah.
I like the thought process of looking beyond. So for Tim and I in our world, if we look at the LGBTQ individual, we look at a consumer. It almost takes it down from this high level thing to this individual, which in fact you flip that script very nicely and say, well, the consumer will follow you, but if they want to be part of that story. And here what you did with Sydney is the story is, this is not just for Sydney. We're bringing everybody together to show what a great harmonious community we are, and we spread love. Now it's no longer Sydney Gay Pride. Now it's an event, right?
Yeah. It's been hugely successful. And then about 10 years later was the vote for same-sex marriage. And you need a majority of the country to vote to change a rule like that. And it's, I think 90% always end up in the no vote because it's very hard for people to change. But it won, and it won quite easily. And that's part of, people just went, well, every year we see this Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras, and it's a lovely thing. It's about love. And it's about the world loving one another. So it's not just
hard to argue.
it's just not men loving one another. It's not just lesbians loving one another. It's, for people who think that's weird and wrong, it's not about that. It's something bigger. And so you just have to create a big enough story that everyone can agree with.
But did you ignore gay and lesbian by doing that? By just moving it to
no, because the brand is still Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras.
It is, okay.
What is the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras about? Helping the world love one another.
Okay.
So no, it's not at all. But also, it reignited the gay and lesbian audience who had kind of been there, done that. So it worked in every way for everyone.
We'll have to talk to you about about our business offline, and maybe you can give us a couple of pointers.
I'd love to.
We have one final question for you, and it's as time goes quick here. But is there a question we didn't ask you, or that you wish more people would ask you about your business?
Oh wow.
And while you think, the book is Creating a Blockbuster Brand by Greg Logan.
We'll go to a commercial break.
But maybe I'll reframe it that if you're sitting in front of somebody and you're talking to them about their business or whatever, and you go in with a preconceived idea or a notion, there must be something you say, gosh, I thought they might ask this, or I wonder why they haven't concerned themselves about this particular thing.
I'll tell you one thing that no one asks. No one's asked me that question, so that's why I stopped. But the question that no one's asked me that I just think, wouldn't they be interested in? I've spent 30 years in advertising as a writer, and very successfully, and had my own agency. And then I left, and I wrote films and reality TV shows, and what is the similarity between all that? And everything I do, whether it was a TV show where I got briefs from networks and I had to solve a business problem creatively, just like I did my whole career in advertising. This was a business problem. We need to sell more of something. But first of all, if you really listen to what the brief is, and you understand your audience, that is the key, is truly understanding your audience, because people just jump to what they want to say. But you look at your audience and go, what do they want? And you have a simple statement and a strategy to bring to life. And then you fuck with it. You create something so surprising. You still answer the brief, but you create something so surprising that people go, that's cool. I really noticed that, and I really, really like that. And it doesn't matter whether it's a TV commercial, a print ad, a short film, or a TV show. If you can do those things, and always understand your audience and what they want, and then surprise them, it will succeed.
Surprise and delight, Tim.
That's your eureka moment, John. We've been speaking with Greg Logan. He's a global leader in brand storytelling. Check out his new book, Creating a Blockbuster Brand. It's not just another marketing book. It's a Hollywood-backed, no BS guide to turning businesses into brands people actually care about. Of course, it's available where all good books are sold.
Not where bad books are sold.
Good books are sold.
No, we don't like them.
So we appreciate you joining us here on the Focus Group. Do you have any website or information where people could contact you, Greg?
Yeah, there's two things. If you're interested in me and my business, it's narrativity.com. And I've created a storytelling quiz for brands to actually realize how well or how bad they're doing at their brand storytelling. And so it's called storytellingquiz.com. And it takes about 5 to 10 minutes. And I've broken down what makes a good story, like clarity, distinctiveness, tone of voice, emotional engagement. And I will ask you questions on how you think you're growing in each of those elements. And at the end, I'll give you a score and actually advice on how to improve it. So I think
storytellingquiz.com.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And then narrativity.com is my business.
Great. Thanks for joining us. And
absolute pleasure.
And we'll be sure to check out your book even further. So we appreciate your time with us today.
Of course.
Again, thanks to Greg Logan. You can buy his book, as we mentioned, at any place all good books are sold. And John and I, of course, are going to take that storytelling quiz. I think we should take that, Mr. Nash, and find out where we fit into our numbers or
where
how we score.
Our brand or our agency fits in. True.
where our brand is. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks to our friends at Deep Discount. As you know, they've got a sale going on right now for TV under 50, so be sure to binge away. I picked the complete series for Schitt's Creek. John also picked a complete series as well of Wolf Hall, and the new release this week is from our friends at Criterion, part of the Criterion Collection, Carnal Knowledge. And so again, that's deepdiscount.com. Go there by going to our site, focusgroupradio.com. You'll also find all of our media house there. Everyone have a great week. Remember, don't text and drive, arrive alive, and we'll see you next week here on the Focus Group. Take care.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.